Welcome to What's Cooking Innisfil. For today's recipe, we're going to be making a Southwestern ground beef casserole. Ground beef is a staple item in a lot of households as it's included in a lot of go-to meals like spaghetti, hamburgers, or tacos. So we're going to change things up a little bit today with this casserole and hopefully give you some inspiration for dinner. For this recipe, you'll need about 2 cups of uncooked pasta, 2 cloves of minced garlic, an onion, a zucchini, the one I have here is the yellow one, 1 bell pepper, a cup of frozen corn, about 500 grams of ground beef. You could swap that out for a ground chicken or turkey if you'd rather, if you prefer that flavor. Some canned diced tomatoes. We're gonna season all of this with a taco seasoning mix. And then we're gonna top off our casserole with about 1 cup of shredded cheese and some tortilla chips. And then once it's all baked and ready, we're gonna garnish it with some sliced black olives, some shredded lettuce, some green onion, and a little bit more diced tomato. So I'm gonna get started with the macaroni and then we'll prep the veggies. Over here I have my macaroni boiling, just cooking as per the package instructions. And my oven is preheating to 350. So in this large pan here, I've got a little bit of olive oil and I'm going to set it to medium heat. And then once it's heated up a little bit, I'm gonna add my garlic. But in the meantime, I'll prepare the rest of the veggies. So next up will be the onion. Gonna cut it in half, and then I'm gonna cut off the end not with the root on it, and peel off the skin. And then I'm just gonna cut the onion into thin slices. And I'll cut the root piece off. And then I'll cut the slices into smaller chunks. Just like that. So the pan's got a bit of heat to it, so I'm gonna add the 2 cloves of minced garlic. I'll give it a couple minutes, and once it becomes fragrant, I'll add in the onion. So next is this yellow zucchini. I'm just gonna cut off the ends like that. And then I'm going to cut it in half lengthwise and cut each half into thin slices. Now you don't have to use the zucchini or the bell pepper in it. You can use other veggies instead. I think celery would probably be really good in this, or maybe some green beans. Okay, now that's all ready. I'll put it to the side of the cutting board. And the garlic's cooking pretty quickly, so I'm gonna add the onion to the pan now. And I'll reduce the heat a little bit. Okay. And then the last veggie that we need to prep is the bell pepper. So I'm just gonna cut off the top of it and the bottom. You can cut the bottom into small chunks, just like that. And the top, you can just cut around the stem there so you don't waste anything. And then I'm just gonna carefully cut the insides of the bell pepper out. And I'll pull them out like that. Careful not to spill seeds everywhere. Cut the bell pepper in half and then into small pieces as well. Okay, now the garlic and onion looks like they still need a couple more minutes, so I'm going to continue to cook them on medium heat for just 2 or 3 minutes until the onions are a bit brown and becoming kind of translucent, and then I'll add in the bell pepper and the zucchini. Now that the onions and garlic are cooked, I'm going to add the ground beef to the pan. And I'm just going to break it apart. I'm just going to cook it until it's brown, so that'll take about 5 or 6 minutes, and then we'll add in the rest of the veggies. The ground beef I'm using is lean, but you could also use extra lean or medium, just depending on how fatty you want it. You could also swap it for ground turkey or chicken, if you prefer that flavor. Here you can see the ground beef is almost completely cooked. There's very little pink left. So I'm going to add in the veggies now because they're going to cook for a couple more minutes, which will give the ground beef enough time to get fully cooked. So I'm adding in my bell pepper, and then I'm also going to add in my yellow zucchini. The yellow zucchini is very similar to the green one. Of course, the color is different and it tastes a bit sweeter, but other than that, it's very similar. So I'm going to mix everything together. Next, I'll add in my taco seasoning. This taco seasoning is just from the grocery store. You can find it near where you find the taco meal kits. If you'd rather use the spices you already have at home, a combination of garlic powder, onion powder, cumin, and chili powder, depending on how spicy you like your food, works really well. So I'm just going to mix everything so that it's thoroughly combined and everything is coated with the seasoning and has a bunch of flavor. Next, I'll add the canned diced tomatoes. So I'm going to use the full can, including the juices. This is a 28-ounce can. And to this, I'm going to add the frozen corn. You don't need to thaw the corn ahead of time. It will thaw in the pan, so that's totally fine. And now I'll just mix everything up so it's thoroughly combined. Now that the pasta is done cooking, I'm going to add it to my casserole dish here. If you have a bigger one, you can use a bigger one because this is a lot of food, or you can split it into 2. So I've added my pasta to the dish. I didn't quite use all of it because this is a kind of small dish. And then I'm going to scoop the ground beef mixture into the pasta bowl. So I'm going to scoop this into the bowl a little bit at a time because it's really full. I want to make sure to get a lot of the juices in there so that it doesn't lose all of its moisture as it's baking. Okay, that's pretty full. So I'm going to mix everything up together in the casserole dish. I have my casserole dish on a cookie sheet here so that when it's in the oven, if anything bubbles over, it doesn't make a huge mess in the oven. Okay, I'll add a bit more. Okay, so that looks mixed pretty well. So I'll sprinkle my 1 cup of cheese over top. If you want, you can mix some in to the mixture as you're adding the ground beef and vegetables in so that you have cheesiness all the way through, but I'm just gonna put it on top like that. And then I'm gonna take my tortilla chips, this is just a handful of them, and I'm gonna break them apart and sprinkle them over the top. If you don't wanna get your hands all covered in a tortilla chip, you can put them in a Ziploc bag and break them apart in there. Okay. And now this is just gonna go in the oven at 350 for about 20 minutes, uncovered. So while the casserole is in the oven baking, I'm gonna prepare the garnish. So I have some sliced black olives here. They're just from a can, so they're already ready. And then I'm also going to make some shredded lettuce, some diced tomato, and a little bit of green onion. So the lettuce, I won't need this whole thing, just a couple of the leaves, so I'll just rip a bunch off. It's already washed. And then slice it into pieces. Just like that. And then finally, I'll just dice my tomatoes. I'm gonna cut it into thin slices. Cut around the stem there. Okay, and there we go. So I'll add this into a little bowl as well. And so I have my sliced olives, my diced tomato, my shredded lettuce, and some green onion. So here I have my Southwestern ground beef casserole out of the oven. I've let it sit to cool for a few minutes so that everything can set. And now I'm just gonna scoop some out and serve it up onto a plate. The cheese has really formed a nice crispy cheesy layer on the top. And there we go. Make sure I get lots of the good insides. And then I'll top it with my garnish, so a little bit of shredded lettuce, some of the black olives, the diced tomato, some of those pieces are a bit big, but that's okay, and the green onion. And there we go. So here I have my Southwestern ground beef casserole. I hope you enjoy this fun way of serving up the usual ground beef. This recipe is so versatile. You can swap out a lot of the veggies for alternatives, and you can use different types of noodles for the base and garnishes. You can even swap out the ground beef for a different type of ground meat and add in some beans if you wanted to have even more of a taco casserole type of feel. So I hope you guys enjoy this recipe.